So one of the things I think we better alert people to is that when they start taking iodine like this, like we've been describing, one of the things that might happen, and it's actually quite common, is TSH is going to go up. So let's explain the physiology there and why that's not necessarily something to be concerned about.
You know more than 99% of doctors out there and almost 100% of endocrinologists out there with that comment. So when I teach doctors about iodine, the first thing at the beginning of my lecture, I say, what's the first thing you notice on a blood test when you put someone on iodine? Wait for a hand to come up. TSH goes up. And I say, that's a good thing, right? And the ones who don't know about iodine are saying, no, you're causing hypothyroidism. The ones who know about iodine saying, yeah, that's a good thing. So we call that sodium iodine symporter, that little taxi cab waiting inside the thyroid to go gather an iodine molecule, iodine atom, and bring it into the thyroid so it can make thyroid hormone. And that thing is fueled by 2 atoms of sodium. Therefore, we need salt to go with the iodine. And it utilizes a molecule of ATP, utilizes an energy molecule. It's so important that this happens. Our body's willing to give up a precious ATP molecule to move iodine into the thyroid, the breasts, the ovaries, and then probably the rest of the glandular tissue, even though it hasn't been studied as well in that stuff. Ford Motor Company makes cars in Detroit. And I'm assuming Ford Motor Company is not going to make their, I'm just pulling up something out of the air here. They're not going to make their Lincoln SUVs if no one's buying them. They're not going to continue to make them if no one's buying them because they're going to run out of money and it's just, they'll go out of business. So if a lot of people are buying their Lincoln SUVs, they're going to make a lot more SUVs because they want to make money on them. So in the thyroid gland, I'm assuming the sodium iodine symporter is not going to be made in large amounts if there's no iodine to move into the thyroid, if everything's deficient. Our body's not stupid. We weren't designed this way to make a ton of sodium iodine symporters to wait there for iodine to come in if people are iodine deficient for 10, 20, 50 years or whatever it's going to be. And what stimulates the production of sodium iodine symporter is TSH. So all of a sudden, when somebody who doesn't have enough iodine and their thyroid gland and the breasts and the ovaries and the prostate and the rest of it's needing iodine, guess what happens? TSH goes up to stimulate the production of sodium iodine symporter. More taxicabs are made, more iodine's brought over. TSH goes up. How much does TSH go up? It goes up over the reference range, sometimes double, triple the reference range. And now conventional doctors, and the way I was taught in medical school was when the TSH goes up, you make them hypothyroid. Now, in medical school, I was taught to check a thyroid level, just check a TSH level. You don't have to do anything else. It goes up, they're hypothyroid. Goes down too low, they're hyperthyroid. I don't do that anymore. I do a complete thyroid check every time I check thyroid hormone, which includes TSH, T3, free T4, thyroid antibodies, and reverse T3. That whole complete thing can tell me more of what's going on. So as TSH goes up in these patients, 2, 3, 4-fold, something like that, T3 and T4, the active and inactive thyroid hormone levels are fine in these people. They're making enough thyroid hormone. Reverse T3 is fine. TPO and thyroglobulin antibodies aren't going crazy high. They're either coming down or staying the same, or they're already low, they're staying low. So yeah, TSH is up. The other ones are all fine and indicating normal thyroid function. More importantly, I'm not treating a lab test. If I see you in the office and I'm asking you, hey, how do you feel? The answer I hear is, I feel better. Got more energy. My brain fog is better. My hair is better. Hair was falling out, or I'm cold. I'm not cold anymore. And TSH is up. They're not hypothyroid. They're feeling better. The TSH is a normal and expected response to rise when you put someone on thyroid hormone who's iodine deficient. It'll rise for about 3 to 6 months, sometimes 9 months in people, and come down back to normal. So my advice is, don't check the TSH for 6 to 9 months. Then you don't have to worry about it, and just keep seeing your patients back and make sure clinically they're doing fine.
Somebody tuning into this point, they're new to iodine, they're excited about it, they start supplementing, but say they take a little bit too much. Talk about what the body does with that extra to provide security of mind that the body has a mechanism in place to deal with this.
Can you take too much iodine? Can you take too much water? Absolutely. Can take too much salt. If there's normal kidney function, your body can handle huge amounts of iodine and excrete the excess. Um, those in congestive heart failure, those in renal failure deserve a little bit more caution. And that's why you don't be your own doctor. That's why you work with a doctor who can test you and look at you and do it. So the kidneys have more than adequate function in normal function kidneys to get rid of excess iodine, whether you're taking 100 milligrams or a gram of iodine, which we've had some people take.
When it comes to supplementing with iodine, one of the things I've heard is you want to make sure you're not taking vitamin C at the same time. Have you heard this? And then any other foods or supplements we want to spread out when we're supplementing with iodine?
It's a good question, and it's a good thought, because you're thinking, hey, I'm going to reduce. Remember, I told you iodine is the oxidized form. It's lacking an extra electron in its outer shell over here, so it's looking for electron to make it iodide. And vitamin C is one of those things that can supply that electron as a reducing agent. And so, are you going to negate the effects of Lugol's by taking it with vitamin C? Theoretically, maybe yes. In practice, I don't see it happen. I'm an N of one with it. I take it all together. I have not seen that happen. I don't make an issue out of it with my patients. So I don't, when I write up how I want them to take their supplements, I don't separate them out. I'm assuming most of them are doing it like I'm doing it, since I'm not telling them specifically to do that. And I don't see it clinically play out that way.
Let's talk about goitrogens. So first of all, what are goitrogens? And then how do you feel about foods like cruciferous vegetables, its impact on thyroid, soy isoflavones, which are goitrogens as well? Let's bring that in.
So goitrogens are substances that cause goiter. Goiter is a swelling of the thyroid. There are goitrogens in the food, as you mentioned, in the cruciferous vegetables: broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, soy. What other ones? Cabbage, cauliflower, spinach. Some other ones. And so, should people limit those foods to help their iodine? I think that's kind of how you're asking the question crudely.
Yeah, thyroid, iodine, just bringing it all together.
If they're not eating a vegan diet where primarily the source of food is that type of stuff, I don't see a problem with it. Is condiments in small amounts in their diet. And the only people I've had problems with are strict vegans, and they eat a ton of that stuff. A ton of the cruciferous vegetables, and then we have to do some working with their diet. But that's for people who eat more of an omnivorous, paleo, varied diet. I don't see that to be a problem.
Since you made it to the end of this clip, I know you're going to love the full episode. Click here to watch. I'll see you over there.
Over the last 50 years, iodine levels have fallen over 50%. We've tested over 8,000 people for our iodine levels. Just right below 98% are iodine deficient. The vast majority are severely iodine deficient. In our toxic world, with our exposure.